All right, let's jump right in. We're going back in time to talk about someone whose name you definitely know, Queen Victoria. She wasn't just a queen, her name literally defined an entire age of invention, empire, and incredible, world-changing events. But here's what's so wild about her story, and really the big question we're asking today. How does a lonely kid, whose life was super controlled, suddenly become the most powerful woman on the planet at just 18 years old? It sounds like something out of a movie, right? Well, let's get into it. So, Victoria's story kicks off in London, at Kensington Palace. Her dad passed away when she was just a baby, so she was raised by her mom, and let's just say strict is an understatement. Her whole life was planned out for her, but in a way that's pretty hard for us to even wrap our heads around. And this whole setup had a name, the Kensington System. So what did that actually mean in practice? Well, get this. She was never allowed to be alone. I'm not kidding. She couldn't even walk down the stairs without someone holding her hand. The whole point was to keep her under control, and it was all because they knew something she found out when she was 12, that one day she was going to be the queen.
You can just see the huge switch here, can't you? It's like two completely different lives. One minute, she's this teenager who can't do anything on her own. The very next, boom, she's 18 and she's the queen. She moves into Buckingham Palace and is now in charge of an entire country. She had to lean on her prime minister just to figure out how to do the job. Talk about a crash course.
Okay, so as she's just starting to get the hang of being queen, something else comes along that's going to change everything. And I mean everything, not just her job, but her whole life. This next chapter is all about partnership, family, and a country that's about to totally transform.
And that big change was a person, Prince Albert. He was her first cousin, and they got married in 1840. Now, this wasn't just some political arrangement. They were seriously in love, and their partnership was a total game changer. They had 9 kids, who later married into basically every royal family in Europe, but their impact was way, way bigger than just that.
Yeah, Albert was so much more than just her husband. He quickly became her #1 advisor, her most trusted partner. He was really into new technology and the arts, and he was the mastermind behind the famous Great Exhibition of 1851. Think of it like a massive World's Fair, showing off all the coolest new inventions. Together, Victoria and Albert really became this ideal image of family and responsibility for all of Britain. So, while Victoria and Albert are setting this new tone for the monarchy, outside the palace, the world is just exploding with change. I mean, things are moving at lightning speed. Technology is about to turn everything upside down. And this incredible period has a name you've probably heard of, the Industrial Revolution. So what is it? It's basically a time of massive invention, where new machines and giant factories completely changed how people lived. I mean, everything. Your job, your home, how you traveled, it was all being reinvented. Just try to picture it. All of a sudden, you've got steam engines powering factories and trains crisscrossing the country. You've got the telegraph, which was like the internet of its day, letting you send messages in a flash. And everywhere you look, there was massive construction. Bridges, tunnels, railways, as cities got bigger and bigger with people moving in from farms to find jobs.
With all this new technology and all these factories making things, Britain earned a pretty cool nickname. It became known as the workshop of the world. And it's true. It was the undisputed economic and industrial giant of the time.
Now, all that industrial power had another major effect. It fueled the growth of the British Empire, a massive global empire. And who was the symbol of this new superpower? Yep, Queen Victoria.
There's that famous saying, the sun never set on the British Empire. And that wasn't just some catchy slogan. It was literally true. The empire was so huge, with territories all over the globe, that somewhere, at any given moment, the sun was shining on British land.
This chart kind of gives you an idea of just how big we're talking. The empire stretched across the whole planet, controlling important trade routes and getting resources like cotton and tea from its colonies. And Victoria, she was the face of all that incredible power. And then, in 1876, something huge happened. She got a new title, Empress of India. India was seen as the most important piece of the empire, the jewel in the crown, as they called it. She actually never went there, but she was really interested in Indian culture and kind of saw herself as its protector.
But right when she's at the absolute peak of her power, as this powerful queen and empress, her entire world just comes crashing down. A personal tragedy hits that would change not just her, but the course of her entire reign.
In 1861, Prince Albert, her husband, her best friend, her top advisor, he died. And he died suddenly. He was only 42. For Victoria, it was just an unimaginable loss.
She was absolutely devastated. To show her grief, she started wearing black, and she never stopped. She wore black every single day for the rest of her life, for 40 years. She also completely disappeared from public view for a long, long time. People really started to worry about what this meant for the monarchy.
Eventually, though, she was convinced to come back into the public eye. And the last part of her reign was actually a time of huge celebration, a time that really locked in her legacy. A legacy that was much bigger than her own personal sadness.
And her era really was a time of incredible progress. Think about it. Doctors were finally figuring out that tiny germs cause diseases. You had scientists like Charles Darwin turning our understanding of the world on its head. Plus, there were really important social changes, like new laws to stop kids from working in dangerous factories and more money for schools so more people could learn to read and write.
And you know, the fact that she ruled for so long was just amazing in itself. The whole country threw massive parties for her Golden Jubilee, that's 50 years as queen, and then again for her Diamond Jubilee, which was 60 years. People came out in huge crowds. She was more popular than ever before.
When all was said and done, she ruled for over 63 years. So when she finally passed away in 1901, it was so much more than just the end of one person's life. It was truly the end of an era. The Victorian era. The world she left behind was completely different from the one she was born into, thanks to all that new technology, new thinking, and, of course, that giant global empire.
So that leaves us with one last thing to think about. The Victorian world, with steam trains and telegraphs, it can feel like it was a million years ago. But so many of the things that happened back then, the railways, the start of instant communication, even the scientific discoveries, they literally built the foundation for the world we live in now. So here's a question for you. How do you think the Victorian era is still shaping our world today?